Let's look at what happened yesterday. The Minister of Interior,
Yes.
paid a visit to Benue State.
Yes.
What do you think that is going to do?
Well, maybe momentarily make the people feel that, there's sympathy from government.
Do you think there's sympathy from government?
I think there's sympathy from government because I don't think any responsible government would celebrate what we saw yesterday. It is a sad, very sad one.
How will the Minister of Interior, for instance, apply his powers, his capacity, because he controls the police largely, he controls interior security. What do you expect him to be doing really? Because this problem in Benue has lingered on for too long,
yes.
Especially the governor has said it himself. That
yes.
We cannot continue like this.
Yes.
If the governor can seek the intervention of the government, of the federal government, despite his law,
yes.
Side by side looking at that, then what must be done, especially by the Minister of Interior, who controls some of these apparatus, the security apparatus, to ensure that Benue State is secured?
Yes. Well, honestly, I think I really sympathize with the people of Benue. And it's not the first time, it's not the second time that this has happened to them. As far as I'm concerned, I will expect even for the minister probably to move his key staff to Benue as we speak. They should be on the ground. And the minister should give, the police, all the police commissioners, a marching order. Okay? Even if it means the police commissioner himself, also, of course, he has to be there. And then set his men out. They should go right into the community. They should go, right into the countryside and fish out these people. And, I mean, enough of talk shop. They should be brought to book. Nigerians should sit them. They should parade them.
Do you think we're able to?
They should prosecute them.
Do you think we're able to identify the owners of those cattle?
That's
Will it help?
Absolutely.
Because that has been very silent lately. We hardly talk about who owns the cattle. If we find out who owns the cattle, then we can begin to trace. Am I right? We can begin to trace who was herding a particular section of the cattle, who went here, who went there, and then we're able to bring them together and really investigate this matter. Will that help?
I guess it will help. It will. It will. Because, of course, the people don't own the cows.
Now, the argument has reached a point where the advocacy for ranching is topmost at this moment. But if the government of Benue State was unable to clearly define what a ranch is and who should own the ranch and how the participation of the herders will bring about sanity and remove all those clashes, or should I say all those attacks, shouldn't the state government have, first of all, ensure, maybe as a sacrifice, I don't know, because it's still part of agriculture, ensure that we have those ranch in place first before this law comes in?
Well, I guess that's another way of looking at it. Because, I mean, in fairness, the cattle rearers, they also have to rear their cattle, And of course, the citizens too. I mean, just like you said, it's agriculture. But the thing again is that the Benue people, they are predominantly, agrarians. They are farmers. So there's bound to be clash.
Let's look at this geographical setting, because if you have the desert encroaching from up north, and should I say other countries like the Niger Republic, Chad, for instance, that are in the closer to the Sahara Desert than we are in Nigeria, if those areas are becoming more desertified, then you begin to see that the cattle, predominantly those countries have got a lot of cattle, they begin to percolate, coming down to Nigeria to find that grass that they need to feed their cattle with. Is there a geographical angle to this that is bringing about those cattle owners and herders up country north down to Nigeria. Does that make sense?
Well, Jimba, elementary geography teaches us that, you know, once you have this climatic condition, you know, there's bound to be movement of cattle or agricultural produce to where you have where you have water. Okay, so it's obvious that you find the situation like. But again, we have to take security seriously here. I look at the situation whereby there was a time, I think the Minister of Agriculture or the Minister of Agriculture, they were talking about creating, you know, some zones, and then, but right as we speak, I don't think, you know, we're hearing anything about that. You know, some money was voted or allocated for such the exercise, but as we speak, I don't think anyone is saying anything about that anymore.
Because this problem is becoming very much bigger than we thought it was, and it's becoming a national disaster. And people are really concerned that if geographical factors could affect the movement of cattle from countries that are just north of Nigeria into Nigeria, then we'll begin to ask the question of border control. Do you think that our borders, the border control, are up to it? Because if we continue like this, it's going to get worse. The border control people, especially the customs in this case, should be up and about. What would you say the customs should do now that we're having this kind of? What's their role? Well,
there is border control. You've just said it, and in my opening remarks, I said, look, we have a very porous border, so there's need to step up, you know, border control. And of course, how do we achieve that? Part of the ways of achieving that is to ensure that we have a national identity in place. So every Nigerian should be registered, and they should carry their identity cards. And then, of course, those migrating from, say, the Sahara because of the adverse weather condition should be stopped.